Well, hi there, and welcome to our Sunday hymn time. And actually, I do have a hymn for you here on this April 18th Sunday. And I thought about it because I don't think I've ever actually done it here before. And I want to take you back with this hymn. Back, well, a couple of days, back to April 14th and 15th. But I also want to take you back a little over 100 years, back to the year 1912, and the night between April 14th and the early hours of April 15th, and you'll know, some of you already, that I'm thinking about the sinking of the RMS Titanic. Went down off the coast of Newfoundland in those chilly waters all those years ago. Now, I remember reading a book about the band that was hired to play on the Titanic. And you folks who are musicians, you'll understand that was quite a good gig for those fellas back in those days. There was a quintet of musicians, and they, of course, would know the all the various popular dance numbers of the day, but they also had a repertoire of hymns because they were also scheduled to play during the various church services that would take place right there on the ship. And the quintet was led by a band leader by the name of Wallace Hartley. And from what I understand from the book, that Mr. Hartley was actually a committed Christian, and I think he actually made his living as a church musician. And so it was probably his idea. Well, you know that phrase, and the band played on, where it comes from, but it was probably his idea to gather the musicians together to play some hymns as the ship began to sink beneath the waters. And they played this music intending, to keep the passengers calm for as long as they possibly could. All the musicians, by the way, went down with the ship, and they were recognized for their heroism. Now, if you've watched the movie The Titanic, you'll have heard this song. Now, there's some dispute as to exactly what the hymn was that people heard, because some of these hymns, were played to different tunes. But it's generally agreed now that probably the last song that people heard as the ship disappeared below the waters was the hymn, "Nearer, My God, to Thee." A very popular hymn written in the 1800s. And so I thought, well, in honor of those musicians, maybe I would just do that here on this April Sunday in 2021, and remembering the sinking of the Titanic this month in 1912. Nearer, my God, to Thee, nearer to Thee, even though it be a cross that raiseth me, still all my song shall be, nearer, my God, to Thee, nearer, my God, to Thee, nearer to Thee. Though like the wanderer, the sun gone down, darkness be over me, my rest a stone. Yet in my dreams I'd be nearer, my God, to Thee, nearer, my God, to Thee, nearer to thee. There let the way appear, steps unto heaven. All that thou sendest me in mercy given. Angels to beckon me nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer to thee. Then with my waking thoughts, bright with thy praise, out of my stony griefs, Bethel I'll raise. So by my woes to be nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer to thee. Or if on joyful wing, cleaving the sky, sun, moon, and stars forgot, upward I'll fly. Still all my song shall be nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer to thee. And there in my Father's home, safe and at rest, there in my Savior's love, perfectly blessed. Age after age to be nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer, my God, to thee. Nearer to thee. Nearer, my God, to thee. Now that song was actually written by a woman who was thinking about, there was a vision back in the Old Testament that Jacob had, right, of angels walking up and down on a ladder. He was sleeping with his head on a rock, so you don't sleep a real peaceful sleep, and he had those dreams of those angels going up and down. And he called it Bethel, which means house of God. And he kind of set up a little stone there, a monument to remind him of what he'd seen. And of course, Jesus later on told us that, you shall see those angels descending and rising, really walking up and down on the Son of Man. So he was going to be our way to heaven, our way nearer to God. Now, as I mentioned, there's all kinds of stories from that fateful night and when the ship sank off the coast of Newfoundland. That great ship. It was said to be unsinkable, of course, but slowly but surely, down beneath those icy cold waters it went. And I remember hearing one story, and it has a connection actually to my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario. Yes, there was a pastor who was on board the Titanic. His name was John Harper. And the Reverend Harper was actually on his way to preach at the Moody Memorial Church located in Chicago, Illinois, in the United States of America. And John Harper had booked passage for himself, along with his daughter Nina and her aunt. And later, passengers would report that John was seen often talking about Jesus with his fellow passengers, and he would often gently just ask them, he would just say, "Are you saved?" Not to be a pain in the neck or anything, but actually he just cared deeply about whether people had ever actually received Jesus, God's hope, God's rescuer from heaven, to save them from the penalty of their sin. And as one source states, none of those passengers, of course, had any idea how close they were to eternity. And as Pastor Harper watched the glorious sunset on the evening of April 14th, 1912, it is said that he made the comment, "Oh, it will be beautiful in the morning." And as you know, some 1,500 Titanic passengers, for them, morning never came. At 11:40 that night, the unsinkable ship, sideswiping that giant iceberg, tearing open those plates on the hull, John Harper quickly realized the Titanic was going down, and he made sure that his precious daughter was in her aunt's arms as he put her in Lifeboat 11, and he said to her, "I will see you again someday." Now, as we fast forward a few years past that, there was a meeting that took place in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And like I say, less than an hour's drive from where I am right now. And I spent the first 20 some odd years of my life in Hamilton. And it was at a meeting at a mission in Hamilton. And apparently there were a few survivors of the Titanic in attendance. I guess they were probably touring around because, people wanted to hear more about the sinking of this great ship. And one man who was one of only a handful of people who were actually taken alive out of that water, he got up to tell his story that night in Hamilton. He said, "I am a survivor of the Titanic. And when I was drifting alone on a piece of wood from the ship that night, the tide brought Mr. John Harper of Glasgow, Scotland, also on a piece of the wreck. It brought him near me, and he said to me, he called out, 'Man, are you saved?' And I replied, 'No, I'm not.' And he said, 'Then believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved.'" Quoting from the Bible, right? The King James Bible, in his Scottish accent. Well, the man went on to say that the waves bore Pastor Harper away. But strange to say, a little while later, those same waves brought him back into view. And he called out again. He said, "Are you saved now?" And he said, No, I cannot honestly say that I am." And once more, Scottish preacher said, "Then believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved." Well, the man said it was shortly after that Pastor Harper drifted off once more and was never seen again. And he went on to say to those people in Hamilton, he said, "There, alone in the night, and with 2 miles of water under me, I believed in the Lord Jesus Christ." Ladies and gentlemen, I am John Harper's last convert. What a powerful story. What a powerful night that must have been to have been there to hear that story. Well, I'm going to leave that with you now. But if you haven't, then let me, without trying to be a pain in the neck, let me just encourage you, invite you, ask you to put your faith and trust, believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. God promises, if you draw near to me, I will draw near to you. And may God bless you on this Sunday. Thanks for watching.